We will come to order at 4:59 PM. Let's introduce ourselves.
Scott Morley, Select Board.
Kara Keeman, Select Board.
Dan Webster, Select Board.
Matt Maxwell, Town Administrator. Start the back.
Jeff Tankway, town clerk, town bookkeeper.
Jeff, you're next.
Oh, Jeff, this is a thing called Zoom.
Renee
Mhm.
Felker,
That's
and
the whole-
Rule.
Yep.
Alyssa Johnson, I work at the Vermont Council on Rural Development.
And we got Heather Bourne virtually. Any changes to the agenda tonight?
I don't know if it's a change or a public comment. I got an email from my granddaughter from the school. Oops, I gotta find the right one. So just to put your thinking caps on, is there anything we can do to help the town with? We're doing community service plan. She missed something. So the 6th grade's looking for community service. I know the 7th grade, I think, like did some weeding and stuff by the plow. They cleaned the dugouts, that type of stuff. So if there's anything some of the school kids can do for the town, let me
I
know.
was gonna suggest for the ones who actually did the weeding by the plow, we can maybe send those students an individual thank you from the town.
So they talked about planting flowers too, but it's a little late.
Yeah.
They just did it.
That's definitely
Yeah.
something to be for spring.
Anything else you think they could do around here?
Not at this point in time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you think of anything, let me know or let the
What-
school
you
know.
need, like, help you set up for election, no, we don't.
Leaves to rake anywhere?
Yeah, that might be the other thing too. Maybe with the seniors, they could do something. I'll send that back. So thinking caps.
All right, well, we'll call that public comment.
That's good right there.
Anybody else
Yeah, the
with
senior
public
housing.
comment?
I'll do something with them.
All right, we will move on to Alyssa, from the community visit program.
What's your pleasure? Should I speak from here? I don't know what works for online
Whatever
and
you
whatnot.
want. You can come sit up here, we can bring a chair up here, you can sit in this chair if you want.
Whatever you're most
Whatever you
comfortable
want.
with.
Comfortable.
We can hear you.
Bring my file.
Bring your file, yeah, your stuff up.
Right, I'm going online just for passing out, and I left some over there. If anyone in the audience wants some. Let's
And
see.
you're from rural development.
Yes, Vermont Council on Rural Development. We normally say VCRD because it's faster. I got 2 for each of you. Perfect, and you already got it in the packet. Well, thanks for having me. I don't know how you want to structure this. I met with Matt a couple weeks ago. I'm happy to give kind of a quick 5-minute overview of the program and then answer any questions that you all have. I'm the Community Visit Program Manager at the Council on Rural Development. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. We do community convening work, both at the individual town and community level, and also statewide, really focused on issues of rural importance. We actually get our official authority from the federal Farm Bill. If you believe it or not, we are a state rural development council. They say each state should have one, and we've done that for a number of years now. That's part of what lets us have this unique board structure. It's why I handed out, you'll see we have federal representatives, we have folks from the governor's cabinet, either party. Again, we're nonpartisan, nonprofit, local, state representatives. And so it gives us this really interesting group of kind of thought partners to think about what the rural communities really need. But we're particularly known for this program. So the community visit program is really about a 5-month process to take a community and say, what are the most important things for kind of the future of your town? What's next? We only work where we're invited. So part of meeting with you all tonight is that if a town is interested, they can invite this community visit process. We have an advisory board that works with us to determine where to work next. We do kind of have a waiting list at this point because it's pretty popular. So you'd be looking a little bit out, but the process as a whole, we get grant funding for our organization. So it's offered free of charge to the community. And it's really about bringing everyone together. So before we even start, we don't know what's best for a community. We don't know what topics might be most interesting here in town. So we would bring together a planning committee of making phone calls around town, getting folks from all different organizations. They help us pick forum topics. And then for that first meeting, we say it's part fun, part business. We do a big community dinner, maybe live music, try and really get folks out. But then before and after dinner, there's facilitated forums. So people can come in and say, this is what's working really well. This is what might be a challenge. And really the bulk of the meeting is about, this is our ideas for the future. This is what we as community members want to participate in. A big part of the process is also bringing in other volunteers. I'm a select board member too. I know you as a board have quite a lot on your plate, quite a lot to do in kind of the business of the town. So part of our process is also bringing other people in from the community who might be interested in making things happen. We know in Vermont towns, that's really how things get done. It's local community members who want to see things happen. So at that first meeting, we're all just gathering ideas. We do an online survey too, printed kind of as many ways as we can, a youth forum at the school. And we come back a month later and we take all those ideas and say, all right, out of everything we heard, what are maybe the 20 big ideas? You can imagine someone talking about roads might have one topic, someone talking about transportation might have similar ideas, and say, what are those 20 or so big picture ideas? We literally put them up on the wall and let people vote and say, out of all these ideas, what are the most important, the most actionable for the community? What are those couple we want to do right now? Again, you might have a million things you could do, but what are those couple that are most important? And then we come back 1 month from that and say, for those ideas you've chosen, how can you make them happen? We bring together partners from across the state, from your region, and say, you know, maybe they have funding or technical assistance, but really we don't want reports to be something that are sitting on a shelf. We want to say, you pick these 2 or 3 things that you want to do, and how do we get you started? Part of that is also at that first meeting when you're just brainstorming, we also bring about 15 or so folks from across the state just to listen. They're not there to give advice, they're not there to talk about your programs, but they hear about the community. And often we find that after a town has gone through the process and say, these are, you know, the couple things we found were really important, those are same agencies that can turn around to and apply for funding to really make things happen. That's kind of the high level process in a nutshell. Again, in terms of select board requirements. So if this is of interest, if it feels like this is maybe something, we would ask for a letter of invitation from you all as the board, or if you want to vote to authorize Matt to sign it, you know, whatever works for you, saying we think a community visit would be interesting. That would go, like I said, to our advisory group who thinks about us working across the whole state. We really do cover all corners. And timing, again, at this point, it would be looking at least to 2026 in terms of when we could actually get you all on the schedule. The 2 other things we would ask the town to provide is 1, funding for a townwide mailing. Part of the inviting everyone in town is literally inviting everyone in town. So we do ask the select board to cover the cost for that and also cover the cost for that dinner on the first night, again, just to kind of help folks come out. But the staff time and other things are things we find grant funding for to do ourselves. We worked in the area a lot. I dug up, I had 1 copy left of the Newport community visit. I've got Brighton, Brownington, Albany, we're in Lunenburg now. So we've done this again about 20 years in the community visit process. So that's the overview, but I'm happy to answer any questions from you all or anyone else.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you. What have some of the other towns done?
Great question. It really varies in terms of things, and that's actually one of the neatest things to see. Let's see, I've got a couple in front of me, so we'll do the quiz. Brownington, road safety was one. The Evansville Trading Post and the future of that was one that the group was interested in, and community events. We're seeing a lot of community events and communication are themes that have come up a lot. Sometimes it's a really tangible infrastructure project. We worked up in Franklin. They were looking at creating a childcare center. Montgomery, way back in 2017, that community visit was part of what set their whole wastewater project in motion, saying, we want the community to grow. We realize that in order to do that, we really need wastewater in our downtown. So again, that's a multi-million-dollar infrastructure project. In some towns, we'd like to do a monthly rotating event series, and that feels really important to folks. So really everything along that spectrum.
These are all towns that did something and
Yeah.
that's what they did.
Yeah, it's neat to see. So these are all part of what we do too at the process. I should, you know, we throughout the forums have folks who record. So literally you'll see in this has like all the notes from everyone who comes out, the ideas they share. all the potential ideas. Again, not all of them get picked, but then also for those specific ones, I'm looking, this is Brighton, Islands Pond. What did they pick? This is Advance of Brighton Recreation Program, and they have the people in the room who help them brainstorm how to do that and kind of their next steps for making that happen.
Can you leave those here?
Yeah, absolutely. Please share. That's what they're for. We get a lot printed for that.
That sounds really good. I love everything that you just talked about. It sounds like people some number of years ago figured out that, we don't have enough time to do it. And so this kind of developed itself, which is true. Matt just won't do stuff we tell him to do. Picking on him. So how do you navigate the management structure in the town? How we have a planning commission,
Totally.
they're sort of supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But not always happening.
Totally.
Select boards, of course, so we wouldn't wanna. How do you do it? So you're not a year or 2 years down the road and a totally new board comes in and then they don't like what you're selling
Yeah.
and, conflict arises. So what's that look like? How are you doing that?
Really good question. I would say kind of all throughout. So one important nuance, I said we asked for an invitation for the select board.
Yeah.
Once we're, that's step one. I don't want to be working in a town if
Right.
the select board has no interest in it, and that has happened. But once we start the process, we're working on behalf of the whole community. So we try and be really explicit. This is not a capital T town process, an open meeting warning town meeting process. This is a community convening. This is bringing together everyone. Some people love a town process, some people do not. And we try and be clear that this is bringing in as many people. Those groups that you mentioned are probably those key organizations we would invite to that first planning meeting. So we would ask for a select board representative, we'd ask for a person from the planning commission, we would ask for someone with connections to the school. If you have a recreation department, I don't know what your,
Yeah.
respective community organizations are. And we want to have them all in the room thinking about what are those topics to discuss. That's not where something comes out, but then throughout the process, they'd be invited to weigh in. Part of the process is really inviting everyone to have the conflict. Part of us coming in is we have no agenda. We don't care what things are prioritized. We want the things that are best for the community. So in some ways, we're offering a forum to say, talk about what's already happening. At that third meeting where we're voting on priorities, that's a piece of the question. Some of the questions we ask is, there's 20 things on the wall. What's most important? A piece of what's most actionable is sometimes like, is someone already doing this? Is the planning commission in the middle of a downtown project? And so they don't really need another group doing this. Or sometimes we hear there is a group doing this and they really need some help. And actually it would be really useful to have this prioritized through this process and we can work that out. So part of it is, I think, starting with everyone in the room, really doing broad invite, trying to get everyone in, get their ideas, get their feedback, and then prioritize the process. And then these are not creating, again, capital T town committees. In some cases, they've gone on to do that, but this is really a task force group. This is people who say, I'm going to put my name on the list and say, I'm interested in participating with this. Part of the coaching and training that we provide to those groups is ideally keeping you all updated, ideally building that relationship. But we also want to support them to really just move forward with their projects. And again, depending on what they are, I think some inherently do involve more municipal involvement. If you're doing wastewater, that's often something where it's really like a town project. Something like events, sometimes those groups are kind of off doing their own thing. And so I think it also is creating that structure for really it's about the work, it's about the different projects. And we often find that by uniting around what those things people do want to do, you can kind of bypass some of that. If they don't want to be actively involved in creating a farmer's market, that's okay. They're not going to sign up. They're not going to join. But I think for the most part, it's about picking those things people are interested in and then providing support.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So what's our next step? Giving you a letter.
if you're interested, that would be it. Yes. I don't have, I got a new job title, so I don't have a business card on me. But Matt definitely has my email, and I'm in a couple of these reports, but yeah, just if you're interested, it would just be a letter of request from you all. And then I would just stay in contact in terms of timing and getting on the schedule.
You guys seem like you're certainly interested on it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
sounds
certainly,
good.
anything that's brings
So
it.
there's your answer there.
Is there any particular things, I will say, we usually ask, like, is there a particular reason this kind of came up as something you all were interested in? I think I got referred to someone, but does it feel like there's a moment, like, why this is interesting now for you all?
She just got done. Who was she? Who was gonna meet me originally?
Well, did Representative Sims, is that how this
Yeah,
helped connect?
and it wasn't there another employee or somebody that was? I've lost it now. It's been a while, but it was through Ms. Sims and,
Yeah,
and, you know, the basic.
Just saying, hey, this exists as a
Yeah,
thing?
the basic sort of, teaser.
Nice.
And it's sort of like a no-brainer to say, yeah, inform me, educate us, let's, you know, get it to the board and, you know, go see Mac and then bring it here and let's all chew on it and think about it. And, I mean, sometimes things can go off the rails, but it sounds like you've really got an organizational piece nailed down and you can keep it going. So it sounds great to me.
Yeah.
Probably littler is better, right? So you don't overwhelm. I mean, it depends on what folks are looking for, but you know, once you're in and the projects are going, are have any towns gone through? How long have you been doing it?
I've been here like 4 years, but like I said, we've been doing this for about 20. So some of the calls I get are, hey, we
Okay.
did this 10 years ago. And you know, this is what's happening now. Newport was one example of, like, you know, leadership transitions, and
Right.
7 years later, they're saying, hey, we got new staff and we found this report and we're, you know, taking next steps on housing. And so that's another piece of us kind of being your friends, partners, cheerleaders, forever, we say, for whatever those projects are.
Yeah.
Whether it's just introducing to someone, again, kind of that referral thing, or saying, oh, you know, this is a great project that the community prioritized.
So you guys comfortable with Matt?
Yeah,
Doing a letter
Absolutely.
for us,
Yeah.
getting it going, and you're all right with that, Matt?
Yeah.
All right with it.
Yeah, so let's do it.
Okay.
Get us on the list.
Can do, absolutely. Well, thank you. Sometimes people want to deliberate, so I don't always expect an answer right away. So very much appreciate it. I will leave my stacker reports for anyone. And thank you all for the time.
thank you,
Really
you're very,
appreciate it.
very professional and informative.
Guess I'm not cluttering my desk, but there you go.
No, that's good.
And I'm running off to my own meeting, otherwise I would stay. So
All right.
What town are you in?
I'm in Waterbury at 7 p.m. So I think I can.
You'll make it. How much it costs you?
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have Tyler with the Coventry Station Road update. All yours, Tyler.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? I'm in the truck doing a kid pickup right now, but can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. I've been working with Good Hue and we've got quite a bit done out there and rebuilt. And they've got a little bit of touch-up work left just to get it ready for winter and plowing and maintaining, but it'll be kind of after the touch-up work, it'll be a pause until spring when paving's planned. They did submit a progress payment bill for basically all of his work, kind of the earthwork side of it, the rebuild side of it. And then he'll likely have one more bill in the spring he's using Gray's paving, for paving, shoulder work and touch up, line striping. And I think he's got a little bit of mob and demob left in his contract. I'm not sure if you guys have been out there yet, but other than a little top dressing, it looks good. New guardrails up, walls are in, roads stabilized with some really, really heavy duty geotextile fabric and rebuilt. We did hit a couple softer seams along the way, kind of the spots that you'd expect in the dip, but also kind of the lead into the dip. There was a couple really soft and squishy clay lenses that were taken out, kind of as an additional. We have a unit price for it in the bid, but taking out additional material there. So like many projects like this, you don't really know what it's going to look like until you peel open the road. So a couple little extra cuts for some of those softer sections to make sure they didn't settle out on you after you paved. it probably turn into a better product and drives well. So all in all, I think we're tracking on budget right now. Like I said, he's pretty much finished up for the year, except for a little touch-up gravel work, and then some signs I think have to go up still. But all in all, he's made good progress, and we're getting there. Do you guys have any questions?
I haven't actually gone out and seen it. Hi, Tyler, it's Scott.
Hey, Scott.
So we're gonna grade it, obviously, before freeze up. That'll be on us.
Yeah, he's got to go out there, and I think some of the material that got brought on the top was a little too chunky, and it was really, really dry. So I think some of those bigger aggregate pieces kind of ended up floating to the surface because it was so dry. So he's gonna bring a bobcat and maybe a dozer and just kind of bring a couple top dressing loads out there to make it smooth. But like you said, I mean, it's gonna be a couple, depending on when snow starts flying, you might have one more grader pass in there just to try to get it before it freezes up and locks up on you. So it's as good as possible for the winter time. I mean, it's going to be a gravel road in the winter time. If it stays frozen, it's usually for the better. I still think it's probably just given how much work, how deep they cut out there, trying to rush the paving in this year. I think for one kind of not great season of plowing and a little bit of potholing and ruts, it's going to be a better product in the end to hold that paving until next year.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to make sure that it's during this project, it's okay for the town to be in there, obviously.
Oh, of course. Yeah, Scott's very easygoing. I would say it's probably best to wait till he does his last little bit of. I drove it on probably I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week. I mean, it doesn't drive as fast as the paved section because it's a gravel road, obviously, and there's winding corners in there, but it drove pretty well. So but yeah, it's your road. You're more than welcome to take a grader pass in there now, tomorrow, next week, whenever after Scott touches it up.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I drove it.
So-
And I know about roads. It looks good. Shiny guardrails.
Yeah, the guardrails, it's certainly a lot more guardrail. I mean, one of the changes we had out there was we were planning on reusing the old section of guardrail that was out there on kind of the inside corner closer to River Road. And after the guardrail folks got out there and started tinkering with it, it just wasn't given as much as we have other guardrail out there. It wasn't worth trying to salvage it at that point. So I talked to Matt and made the decision to yank that out, and you might as well have all fresh new guardrail out there instead of just one 20 or 30-year-old section that you'd have to get to eventually. So we kind of one of those things that comes up during construction, address it in the field and keep going. So it is all new out there, up to state spec. They set it purposefully a little bit high for right now because of paving coming in next year. So it does, when you drive it, it does feel a little high because it is a little high. When paving comes in next year, they'll fine grade it, and then 4 inches of pavement goes down. So that guardrail by next year will feel like it's at more the appropriate height per state spec.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yep. So other than that, once Scott Goodhue touches up the road, we'll hit pause, and I'll get back in touch with you guys in the springtime. Sometime after you guys pull your road postings, and we'll get grays in there too. I mean, it's only going to be a couple days of grading, paving, shoulder work, and line striping. So it should be time wise, we're not going to have a whole lot next year. Money wise, it's probably it's probably a quarter of the contract, a couple hundred, $150,000 of paving and line striping and stuff. So that'll be the leftover. But like I said, we are tracking pretty well compared to the original bid price.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah. And like I said, I reviewed the invoice that Matt has for Scott. It's good from my lens. I did a lot of measurements, surveying out there, checked his work. So if you guys are good to approve that payment, I'm sure Scott would appreciate it, being a small outfit and wanting to pay his subs and all that stuff.
We have it here tonight, right? Yeah, we'll take care of it tonight.
Okay, excellent. If you guys have any questions that pop up, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email and we can address it.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Next up is the draft domestic animal ordinance. All right, Renee. Go ahead, Renee.
I just want you guys to read it.
Tell us what's happening out there.
Know what's happening out there, on pigs, cows, I mean, you name it. I think as far as, anything other than dogs, Coventry's probably been my hotspot for the last year and a half, because, you know. And just recently, we have a new potbelly pig issue over here on 14. So anyway, I got, this was introduced back in July. And I think Deb actually the one that sent it to me originally. I have introduced it to all of the towns that I work for, and so far, I think Derby just, enacted it at their last meeting, they put it out there to get approval to put it into effect. A lot of, people have chickens and poultry and small livestock and big livestock. You know, it's becoming an issue. Not so much with large animals like what we've dealt with on the airport road with the cows, but, you know, chickens and smaller animals. The potbelly pig is not that small, it's probably about 100-pound pig, but, we're working on that. The sheriff's department contacted me, Dan Locke called me, he got called, he went out and talked to the owner who basically just blew him off too and said, oh, what's the big deal? The pig's friendly. You know, she doesn't see any problem with her pig running all over town and tearing up the neighbor's lawns. So actually, I'm gonna go swing over there after I leave here, see if she's home, because the last 3 times I've been here, she has not been home. Her name is Nicole Gildas. They live in that, you know where they live? No.
It's just down the road from me.
Yeah.
I see the chickens and the pigs and
Yeah.
running around. She have more than one pig?
Yeah, I think there's just the one pig.
Yeah.
Chickens, and then there's 2 big dogs. The dogs have been, an issue a few times, looking out the road, stopping traffic. They're big, like massive sized dogs. And she is a non-compliant that, Island Pond fought with for a couple of years over her animals. Her goats were confiscated, from the campground. They were jumping all over people's picnic tables at the campground. And animal control officer, Ryan here, you guys might know Ryan. He actually went to the campground and got them into dog crates and loaded them up and hauled them away and found a new home for him, but she never even looked for him. So I did bring a crate up to Lisa and Ricky's last weekend in hopes to try to catch her. But she's a little too smart, I think a little too smart. So anyway, I'm asking the towns to, it's all right here, it's been written by the state. There's no wheel to invent here. The only thing that needs to be done is amounts filled in for the fines. And I think I sent, Matt, the one I send you have written amounts in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Derby.
That was one that's the one I wrote the amounts in and presented that to Derby, and I believe they kept the amounts. And I mean, it's up to you guys really, if you want to do it, just gives me a little bit more power and creativity with the livestock issues that have been going on, and that will continue to go on.
Where on the airport road?
I don't have the exact address. It's 2 places near where Kenny Messier's is on the airport road.
I'm not sure.
He's got the white farmhouse on the right past Lawson's. He's got a bunch of beef cattle out back.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's one other house, and I don't know their names. They have a little goats and a little mini farm going on there. It's the very next place it sits up.
Mhm.
away from the road.
Place.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and that's been ongoing for probably close to a couple of years at this point.
That one on the number 44 road, with some giving and
Oh, that's, yeah, that, I haven't heard anything from them. I did go up and talk to the owner of the hens. But again, without anything in place for domestic animals, other than dogs, really, I told her that, the guinea hens kept going over the neighbors don't care about the guinea hens, but they don't wanna let their dogs out, because their dog will kill them. So they need them to be, decent and not have her guinea hens killed, but, and I finally told them, I said, if they're on your property and your dogs wanna go out, let them out. Whatever happens, happens.
So with this, if their animals are out 3 times within a year, then you can impound it. Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah, that's how it's written
Yeah.
here, yep.
And then after a year, it starts over.
Well, and I believe you can change that, so I think. Can't remember.
It's just wrote in, so we could change it. I didn't think that was, at
Change-
first I thought, I
Yeah,
wasn't
you
sure
could
about it, but
change the-
if they get out 3 times and they're running
I mean,
around.
yeah, well, because we know the cows on
Yeah.
Airport Road are out like almost every single day.
So then the impoundment part.
Yeah,
Today I brought a pig to Bros, a great big giant pig. What, how do you impound a refrigerator running around?
well, I mean, it's tough, and it's certainly tough.
Is there any way you could have in here, sometimes you, whoever, I think you're gonna have to shoot them
Well, and.
or euthanize them somehow.
Yeah.
Is there some way
Well,
the owners should know that may be a possibility?
I mean, can we put that in there? I can look into it. Because I know, I can tell you that all the people on the airport road are fed up, and I'm not gonna mention names, but we know who they are, or I know who they are. You know, they're like, if these animals are on my property one more time, I'm not even gonna ask questions, I'm just gonna shoot. And what we did discover with Jake Johnson, and we did dig into laws, it did say that, you know, if the animals were acting aggressively, which many of those Highlanders are bulls. I do know that one of those bulls went after Dale Bennett on his 4-wheeler and ripped the grill off his 4-wheeler. So, I mean, to me, that's aggressive behavior.
Yeah,
And it does say deep in the laws that if a horse or a cow is aggressive and it's on your property, you do have the right to shoot it. So, and I think really for a few of those people that have been really truly affected by these cows on the airport road, that's their next step. So.
Of course, the other thing too is if you had a farm that would take them, you know, somebody else that raises pigs.
well, it becomes an issue where the
Yes.
impoundment part, you don't just go catch even if my cows are out here,
Yeah, no.
you just can't catch them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been successful at catching some livestock from time to time. I did have an issue in Derby with a pig. That was a pig that was being raised for food, completely massacred this 80-year-old man's entire camp lot on the lake, on Salem Lake. I mean, there wasn't an inch of his property, 2 acres of land that wasn't uprooted.
Yeah, the pigs are bad. I mean,
And we got a truck and trailer out there and we loaded the pig up and hauled it away and the pig didn't go back.
Yeah.
So the guy didn't put up much of a fight because he didn't want to have to pay for damages, so. But anyway, yeah, I mean, in certain cases.
So you guys have done that then with the truck and trailer?
I have some resources, not always 100% readily available, but, you know, if I need it, have it. So.
I'd like to speak on this matter.
Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, so anyway, good evening, and thank you thank you, Renee, for all that you do and everything that you just spoke about. Couple questions. So Matt, thank you for sending me the draft. I was able to go through the entire draft, and then I also reached out to one of the attorneys that I work with sometimes over at Martin and Delaney Law Firm. And there's just one section that I just kind of wanted to go over. But before I do, I wanted to just share with you, and I know Matt is aware of this, and Dan, you are as well. The situation with the cows went to 80 plus times in the past year, almost 20 times calling the state police. Last week I did have a really good conversation with Officer Rice, and he's more than willing now to work with me in terms of issuing fines and whatnot. However, last Sunday morning when I was coming out of my horse barn, and prior to going in, the cows were not on the property. My husband was coming out with the dogs on the back deck, and as I'm coming out of the barn, the group of cows, including a bull, was present. my husband just went to go down the stairs, didn't even realize the cows were right there with the dogs. And one of the bulls charged at him. He could have been killed. Thank God that he was right at the next to the deck. He jumped back up on the deck, and I'm yelling at the dogs to get back up on the deck. But it was a very traumatizing situation that could have ended in death of my husband. It's just so I thank you for bringing this draft today. I have missed doctor's appointments. I've had, I mean, on and on and on. I don't think I need to get into it. I have already before. But my health, which was already an issue, which I'm coming out of, has just been so severely affected by this situation. So I just really encourage you and urge you to put this forward. And the only part, and also I want to say, whoever crafted this, well done. It's a very well crafted document. I think it's extremely thorough. I don't think that there's anything that's missed. The only part that I see could be a little bit confusing, which Dan, I had spoken to you about just briefly earlier today, was section 2, impoundment. Oh, excuse me, section
7.
Section 7, under the impoundment, where it says grounds for impoundment 1 and 2. They're almost a little bit contradicting of each other. So I think that it'd probably be advised to just clarify that a little more. Do you see that?
I see it, yeah.
Yeah.
So grounds for impoundment, section 7, letter A, 1 and 2, where it says any domestic animal may be immediately impounded if the animal is found running at large, and then any owner who has violated the ordinance 3 times, whether the offenses are identical or more. So it's the number 1 is different than number 2. They're conflicting. And all I think it needs is just some clarification, either, remove one of them.
Just let her know this was written by the state.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. No, and that, Dan, that is what you said. However, you can customize it or define it even more if you choose. That's just my suggestion with reading, with how it stands. It is a little bit conflicting, so.
Well, I think maybe what they're getting at, if an animal is,
Is it found, it's found running at large.
if it's found, yeah,
You can immediately impound it.
yeah,
If they've had 3 offenses of their animal running at large but haven't been impounded, then you could technically go to their
Right, okay.
house
However-
and impound it then.
Right, all I'm saying is, it just needs to be a little more fine-tuned so it's very clear. Okay, because it is a little bit confusing, and at this point, we don't want any confusion.
It's draft.
It needs to be really, yes, this draft. It needs to be just cut and dry.
So,
And I do have one more question. In terms of enforcement officers, are you the selectwoman, are you also as a selectman? Dan, are you also considered an enforcement officer, or would that be something over and above?
who can enforce?
That's more people to be able to be enforcement officers and just not the ACO.
Right. Well, your constables are supposed to be as well.
Right, the constables, but it does state that in addition to that, other enforcement officers can be put in place.
So that's something we have to figure out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think strongly that would be a good idea, and that's what I was asking, are you already considered that being on the select board, Dan, or all of you?
I don't know, is that like a legal?
Well, I mean,
We could,
in terms of you issuing tickets, in terms of you, with who we have now, I mean, I can call the state police, Renee, but I mean, everybody is busy doing other things, and these things, sure, I can't always show the proof. Last Sunday, I don't like having my phone on me all the time. I like just to go out to the horses and just be, okay? And I shouldn't have to be worried about oh my goodness, I could be killed if I step off my deck, or my house is gonna be killed. Then I don't have to have my phone with me every moment. It's not why I live here. It's not why I have space, so I can just be and be at peace and enjoy our life here. So there's not always opportunity to take, a photo or video of every little thing, although last Sunday, that would have been nice.
All right, so here's where I come down on this one. I would say that I agree with the town having this conversation. There's obviously issues. There's obviously issues that Renee's have been encountering and are assisting us with animals. Deb's got a lot of this information and hears it. Matt does too. It's obvious we have issues. So the business side of that on what do we do? How do we do it? When do we do it? How should we do it? What's proper? What's best? We are in the midst currently of an updated dog ordinance.
Yep.
We're in that process.
In the process.
That's gone probably as well as I could have expected.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of the work that we did and the conversations that we had and the work that you guys did. And you did it here and the process is as important as anything. This is even bigger than that, right? This is going to be a shock to a lot of people that live in your town. This is brand new. There's a lot of animal owners, not just dogs now. We're talking about all forms of animals. There's going to be a lot of people that don't like this idea, and that's okay. I'm probably going to suggest that's a town meeting issue where we have this conversation. We make it one of the big ones like we did last year, right? This is a real issue. Now the select board's going to do whatever the town asks us to do. But I think probably in this case, they should get an opportunity to tell us what to do, to guide it. And then we will hit it the ground running. And, we'll take this, we'll adjust it to meet our needs. We'll throw it through our legal, we'll do everything that we need to do, and then we will enforce it. That's what we'll do, because that's what they're asking us to do. But to go just as a 3-person board on an issue like that you are gonna have a lot of struggles with is probably not the best idea. That's my opinion. We're already in October, we're 5 months away. It would take us a few months anyway to get this thing done. And we could keep this just the way it is as a draft and sort of educate folks to that and say, this is what's been presented to the board. These are the reasons why. And, spend some time on it in town meeting and say, what do you want us to do? And vote on it. If they want us to do it, then we'll do it. Not a problem with me. And then we talk about all those details. We're not going to be enforcement officers. We need to be reviewers. We need to be managers. We need to be just at arm's length from it to be able to see clearly with clear eyes on what people are doing or not doing. And that's what we do. We don't want to get in the midst of it. And then have to come here and make decisions about what we did or didn't do. That's my opinion on that too. But we can certainly look at enforcement officers and all the details and make it right and make it enforceable, actionable. So that's where I come down on it. I don't know.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, anything that the town can vote on like that, I think that's perfect.
It's a big one. It's gonna impact people. It's gonna impact families. It's gonna cost us money.
It's not meant, I don't know if you had this other piece to this, Matt, or not, the model. You have this piece?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna give this to you because it's not meant to,
Thank you.
go after farmers,
Right.
who are.
And so those are the conversations,
Right.
right, that we want to make sure we're having. We want to make sure people can come and ask that question.
Yeah.
And we have somebody here, yourself, or somebody that can speak to this stuff. And so people can make an educated decision and vote on things up or down, and then, we'll do it, whatever the town wants us to do. I think that's
So there'll be an article on the actual.
that's my thinking. I mean, we can keep talking about, like we did last year, we put 4 or 5 articles that were not traditional to our town.
Yeah.
The big expensive pieces and the garage and all that thing. So the voters can see it, understand it, ask us questions and then give us some direction. And then I certainly feel very supported in that, and then, you know, we will go do it. Cause that's what folks want us to do.
And what I would suggest is maybe if you can, Renee, I would probably put together like maybe a 1 or 2 page letter specifically to this one article. Explaining some of the different
Yeah.
occurrences you've seen, really target the town of Coventry. Maybe still target some of the other towns, just so they can see that there are issues everywhere.
Oh, yeah, I've already seen it
Right.
proposed to all 5 municipalities that I work
We
for.
can do that.
Yeah. Just have
Did you do a piece for us,
really
David?
did it without-
Yeah.
In the town report, Renee?
She has,
Yeah,
she does a page. Yeah.
But Farmington and the other towns that we report to, it's all been.
So
like I
maybe
said,
we
yeah,
do
all of them.
Mhm.
this time.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it to be in there.
So,
We got all kinds of rules.
so we were just kinda whispering about it, Renee, is,
Yeah,
you offer us information anyway for our town report.
yes,
So that'd be a great spot for that, you know, with an extra page, 2 pages, or whatever.
yeah, if you want me to, set what you want.
Or something, put it right in there so people
Yeah.
can see it and understand it. We can have this not in there, but,
Right.
you know, as an attachment.
Do you want me still to your letter?
I think that's the way to do it.
And then
It's
if
a
we-
big one.
yeah.
And if we have some of it, not really fine tuned, but
Okay, thank you, Renee.
Thanks, Renee.
like the
All right,
fine.
we're gonna move,
maybe
we're
what
gonna
the
move off
dollars
Jeff
and-
right now, since he was nice enough to come out tonight. Thank you, Jackson. We'll go with the Newport ambulance service.
Check on it. Probably take- Thanks. Good luck.
Yeah, have a good day, guys.
Bye, Renee. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Welcome.
Hey Jeff, again, I thought I walked by you. So, thanks for coming. We've started talking a little bit about preparation for following the next year. And I wouldn't say things have gotten complicated, but, we've changed, right? We've now experienced, the town of Coventry has now experienced 2 providers for the emergency services, and there's good with everything and there's not so good with everything. And some of the good with that is we get an opportunity to see how other people do things, we see what we like and what we don't like, and all of the above. So we've started that discussion around, you know, are we happy? Do we like the system we're doing? Do we like this 50/50? This is a growing conversation. It's a moving target, really. We just keep talking about it. So some of the, for me, I guess I'm not gonna talk for the board, but just to get this conversation going, you know, for me, some of those things are, you know, costs. So, you know, we're building budgets, we're really working a lot harder, I think. Is that fair to say now? We're working darn hard in the last year or 2 for the town's overall budgeting experience and how we choose to spend the money, et cetera. So that we can understand it, you know, we're not just cookie cutter approach to, you know, all of the issues, so. That's an issue we're gonna be wrestling with here coming up, you know, we're just looking at costs, right? So it's something that doesn't certainly have to be done tonight, but I would appreciate it, I think the board would appreciate it not to wait till, you know, December 15th and hear the number.
So we will be working really hard to finalize our Newport station budget for you guys tomorrow. So I talked to Charlie, he said that we should be able to have a number for you for your next meeting. Where, you know, he said it's gonna be about what the Orleans went up about $4, something like that. Charlie said ours is gonna probably be really close to about the same thing.
Did we get our Orleans number?
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Yeah. About $35.
35. This is it?
Mhm.
Thank you. Do I have that?
I got it from Matt, I printed it.
You got it from Matt too, he just forgot.
We had it last time.
Okay, so, I don't know what I didn't read it all there, I got these things in my brain, so I mean, you know, you can start seeing the differences, right? Look at, you can kind of see, you know, the concept of having the conversation around, you know, the money. It seems like it's pretty significant, but we can have that conversation later. I'm happy with all the services. Are you guys?
Yeah,
We haven't
absolutely.
heard any.
I haven't heard
complaints.
any good or bad, really.
Yeah.
Usually that'd be
perfect.
good, yeah.
We haven't had any complaints either way. I
I mean,
haven't.
I can tell you last year, you know, we were like, oh, you know, but honestly, the way it's worked, I mean, it's, you know, it worked out.
Yeah,
Like, you know, there's,
yeah.
no qualms on the.
Just change.
Yeah, it's changed. And, there was no,
No, I think it's worked well. I think our residents are happy. I haven't heard any complaints. Matt, you haven't heard any?
I have no, everybody seems happy.
And he's where the complaints would go.
They would be there
I'm the
first.
first person that anybody ever complains to, so.
Yeah.
Or Deb, you're Deb.
I was gonna say.
Whoever they see first when they walk.
Whoever picks up the phone.
Yeah. So that being said, the next issue for me is that of the directors. I've educated myself up a little bit on that again, just because, you know, now we're dealing with two services. And so we just went through a process with Orleans around that process of director representing the town of Coventry for that board and all of the moving parts, that how it works for them. The reasons they do things the way they do. We've selected our town administrator for being into that position for a number of different reasons. And then in that conversation last week or whenever it was, we discovered that Deb was the representative for Coventry, and I'm gonna push back on that a little bit.
so, I brought a copy of our bylaws. So our bylaws state, so we cover 18 towns. Our bylaw, it's a 5-man board. Anybody from any of our towns, could be a representative. So Pat Sloan, who was a resident of Coventry, over a year and a half ago, had reached out to Deb, and asked if she'd be interested before anything happened, and asked. Deb came to a couple board meetings. Pat said, I would like to stay on until I no longer can. Pat unfortunately passed away really quick. At that point, what we had to do was to follow our bylaws, we had to advertise. So I do have the advertisement we put out in August. We put it in the Newport paper, gave the timeline. At that point, Deb was the only one that had showed interest. She did an application, met with Charlie, met with our board of directors, and she was voted on. We're gonna go through the same process again shortly. We have one of our Newport reps who's been on for 30 years. She's in her 70s. She just said, I'm done. Time, you know, I want to move, I want to do. So she's from Newport. Doesn't mean we're gonna advertise. Could be someone from Averill, could be someone from Brighton. So because we cover so many, our bylaws state it's a 5-man board. It could be Coventry again, because it doesn't say that it has to be from separate towns. We have 2 from Newport as it is right now. I did bring a copy of those if you would like, Scott.
I believe you.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
So, you know, for me, these two can talk about their thoughts and opinions on it themselves, but for me, I wish you wouldn't do that.
Okay,
I wish that, because it's the town's representative, right? And if you have a town representative, it should be a town process to represent the town. There's a business process for that, right? Like we do in any number of other issues here. When we have a representative to whatever, and we have a lot of them, then it comes to the select board, we have a conversation, we deliberate, for a whole host of reasons, just like you guys do for your directors. And that would be working through the process of representing the town. When the other entity, in this case it's you, but if it were any other entity, if those folks were making the determining decision, then it's not that way. Then that person is potentially representing them and not the town. Certainly can have that appearance. And I suggest that that's a bad process. That it took me off guard. I didn't even know that Deb was on that board, and that's an inappropriate thing all the way around. I think everybody can learn from that one. I don't think that that's a good way for the town of Coventry to conduct its business. We should be transparent, we should all know things, we should communicate and get those things done for this town. You know, we all work for this town, not for you or someone else. So the process is very important to me. It should be, I think, more important to everybody. And so that's why I'm pushing back on this, and I'm saying, you know, I'm like throwing the flag on this and saying, I wish it was different. And I would challenge
So how would you?
you
have
to
liked
think
it
about that.
Different, just so I can bring it back to my board, because
Yeah.
this is, I'm a non-voting member on the board, and
Yeah, just like what I'm saying, you know, when somebody's a representative. And I understand it's like a little, you know, everybody's gonna do it a little bit different, right? And I don't wanna say this, they do it this way, you know, so you should do it that way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we learn stuff because we do have a new contractor fulfilling half the town, so we're learning their ways of thinking and what they do. And then probably they do some things that we'll like better than you guys, and you guys are gonna do things we like better than them.
are you recommending that we have a 17-member board?
Nope.
Is that, okay, because,
I'm
if we got, you know, like if Deb wouldn't have applied, say somebody like Bob Kelly from Derby applied. Honestly, then Coventry wouldn't have even had a representation on our board.
That is something you guys should consider. You've grown recently. Your bylaws are a lot older than that. So maybe your bylaws haven't kept up with your growth. So my pushback would be, and I
I've looked at
don't,
other ambulance services that have a large board
yep,
and they don't fill them. And they have a lot of hard time because there's so many different opinions, and it could, you know, so I look at it in multiple ways, though. I mean, I don't know.
I hear you.
I'm an outside, you know, I'm
Yeah.
not voting.
I hear you. And we can't, you know, we're not here to fix those problems for you.
Yeah.
That's sort of on you,
Yeah,
but
we're as transparent, you know, how, I mean, our budgets we hand to you.
Yeah.
I tell you everything, you know, I can tell you every single piece of equipment I have. I can tell you everything our ambulance services does. It's not some sliding trucks from back and forth, you know, so there's always coverage. You know, the amount of transfers and, you know, the paramedics and critical care paramedics that I have on the truck. And the equipment, you know, I can tell you that is some of the cost, you know, we're a paramedic service. I carry a lot of equipment that is, you know, $30,000-$40,000 per piece of equipment, to give that service. You know, I went to school to be a paramedic, you know, it took me 3 years and $20,000 of my own money, you know, to serve this community. So, as to the town of Coventry, also, you know, couple $1,000, I'm hoping isn't, you know, a deal breaker.
so, well, I don't know the number, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
we can
we'll
go
have
through
those for you
that next meeting.
Yeah,
So just so that I'm really clear on that director thing. It wasn't done right. It wasn't done right. So at best, this is my suggestion to you. and you can choose to do it or not do it, do you? But at best, if the ambulance service is considering or thinking about placing somebody on a 5-person board from the town of Coventry, the conversation should come to the board. Because the board should have some agreement, at least, if you're gonna be the authority of the decision, then we should be talking about it and recommending or not throwing a flag at whoever the potential candidate would be, because they're representing the town of Coventry, right? Doesn't that kind of make sense? If, you know, and that's suggesting that you're the ultimate authority. In the other squad that we've dealt with, they're not the ultimate authority. The board is the ultimate authority on who this town chooses to have as its representative to that board of directors. Is a thoughtful process of, you know, and we can change it. We can change it every year. We, if for whatever reasons, you know, that's the process of doing it. So, you know, getting into the weeds on 5 and all these other towns, that's you guys is sort of like your problem, not my
Bring
problem.
it back to the board, like I said,
Yeah.
you know, I run the day-to-day operations.
Right, I get it,
You know, so,
but you're here.
yeah.
You get to
I
get
get
the,
the years.
yeah, you get to get the kick. So, I mean, what do you guys say?
Deb, you got something?
Yeah, I do. I think the word here, town representation, is being placed out of concept. Because for me, being on that board, there was a process that went through, just like any business that's out there. When they have a position that's open, they advertise it, just like the town. You advertise a position that's open, you request for applicants to send in their resume packages. And then you go through the process as far as who you're picking out to fulfill that position. That is technically what they did. Yes, I talked to you prior to, but that was a conversation between Pat and I. But it was ultimately my decision to see the ad being placed in the paper, to wanting to send my own personal resume for that position, not as a representation of the town of Coventry. I was obtained way as a representation of myself, my qualities, what I could bring to the board of Newport Ambulance Service. Nowhere's, no how was that a representation that, yes, I live in Coventry, and whatever I say or do there, is that a representation of what the board or the residents or anybody in the town of Coventry wants to do? No, it was a representation of me, of some of my civic duty, of what I want to end up doing as far as placing it out there. So I think that town representation is being distorted within here. Yes, Orleans Ambulance does their appointment to their board differently. They requested for you to do the appointment. Newport Ambulance just does it differently. And again, me being on that board is not representing the town of Coventry. That's not what I'm on that board to do. I live in Coventry, yes, I do. But my application to them was, this is Deb Tangway. This is what I can bring to your board to help you guys try to succeed in doing the duties of what you're doing.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I don't agree with it. And that's okay too, because the town of Coventry should have a representative on the director board. We should, I believe we should. And to represent the town of Coventry, not to represent Deb Tangway. The town of Coventry should have a representative to the directors. And that is different. You're right, it's different. I don't think that we should have a Deb Tangway representative to represent Deb Tangway. I don't believe that's true. I think that's poor design. And so my pushback is, think about that. And, you know, to the Newport Ambulance, I think you should think about that. And I think that you're gonna get a lot more buy-in from all of your towns when they are represented by the town. There's a true representation piece. So that's it. And we would have never probably even got to this conversation if we hadn't made a change a year ago, so we can see different styles and different designs. And growing pains and figure out, what works for us. It's about what works for us in this town. That's who we work for. We work for the town of Coventry. We don't work for anybody else. And so what's best for us? And the little things sometimes make a big difference. And in this particular case, it's a seemingly little thing, makes a big difference to me. And I think to many, if they really thought about that and were part of the conversation, I think that most people would say that I'm right. And so it is what it is.
I'm hearing everybody and I think for me right now, it's the service. Everybody's had great service, so that's good.
And that's what I strive for. I mean, everything I do for Newport Ambulance is patient care. I continue to go to school, I continue to run calls and manage. I live in Coventry, I'm in the process of hopefully building a house in the next couple of years, so, I see where you're coming from. But I also, on that section, which Newport's 3 minutes away and Orleans isn't, so.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys.
Now I'm gonna absorb it.
No. You're absorbing.
I'm gonna
That's it.
absorb.
All right. So, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for coming.
A hard conversation sometime, but thank you.
Yep. And when's your next board meeting? Do you want us to present something on your next?
October 21st.
Every-
Yeah, if you've got,
Next 2 Mondays.
if you're ready, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, we're gonna concentrate on the Newport only budget tomorrow, and it's for you guys, and then we'll worry about our other stations and stuff after. So
Thank
what
you.
date was that? October what?
21st.
21st. Thanks.
My birthday.
We'll be back if that's what you
Aw.
want.
You be here.
October 21st.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, and I'll send you out a reminder.
thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Moving along, now we have town investment portfolio. So this is one that's come back around. We never really got a final decision on what we're gonna do here. I think for me and Dave Barlow, who would be helping me with anything in here, we want some clear, concise direction from you guys on where we're gonna go. If we're gonna look to move outside of Catamount. Just, we want some direction on what you'd like us to do.
Do we have a contract with a specific time frame with Catamount?
It's just a 1-year
1 year at a
contract.
time.
When's the dates on it,
I
Seems
think
like you did it.
we just did it in April, so I
This-
think it's
yeah.
April to April or something like that.
Yeah, that makes
It's a
sense.
pretty recent, we
Yeah.
did it pretty recent, because we hadn't had one for a lot of years, and we got one now.
And then town investments, are they different with, I've heard that they're different with like how they can invest, not necessarily with who they can invest?
Well, we have a town investment policy. And they're supposed to be following that. That policy was written pretty, it's pretty ironclad. I mean, it's specific and it says what can be done with long-term investing money from the town, and whoever we're entrusting that money to should be following that policy.
That policy.
Yeah.
So it's really on who charges what fees and fresh eyes or not fresh eyes on the.
Right, that's another,
Mhm.
I think we sort of started that conversation a while ago where we thought, you guys thought maybe this might be something like the audit service where you want somebody else to, not necessarily say you make a change, but just have somebody else look at it and give you an opinion that, you might not get from the person that's been doing your business for the last 7 or 8 years. Or long it's been. Oh. Chris, you have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, not anymore.
Is that-
Can you unmute him?
No. I can ask him to unmute.
Yeah.
'Cause we heard him for a second.
You're muted, Chris.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I read the minutes to for the last meeting. It looks like you're proposing a domestic animal, ordinance for the entire town of Coventry. Is that within a specific area of the town, or is that for the entire town?
We're not proposing anything at this time.
Okay.
We've already had this discussion tonight on the agenda for quite a while. So it's too bad you missed it all. But the decision at this point is that we're not making any proposals, that we're gonna put the issues in front of the town meeting this year.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep. All right, what were we talking about?
Town investment
Investments.
portfolio.
Thank you.
So I think where we got before was that, yes, just kind of what you just said, Matt, which is it was seemingly timely to have to kind of take the opportunity to see what else might be out there. Just like we do a request for proposal, an RFP, just look at 3, 4, 5 Vermont-based firms who have the skills and assets to deal with the amount of investment money we have and serve us, the client, the best that they can, and then get a pitch from them.
Yeah.
And then we all can get those packages after Matt's cut. And then we can have that conversation around, what's the same, what's not the same, what's better, worse, indifferent, and have the conversation around, are we happy? Did the process unfold that we're happy with what we have? Then great.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario. But
There was talk about having somebody kind of guide us to,
Yeah, that was the other thing we talked about possibly hiring just an actuary.
and that's what it was, yes.
And then, maybe tell the actuary would be the person that would make the suggestions on how things are, how money is invested and stuff like that.
Working toward the goals with the money that
A
we're
lot of
investing.
these firms have those,
They're-
they're there,
they're
it's
sort
part
of-
of this, it's part of the service.
sort of ready built.
Yeah, already built in. Catamount, that's a small, it's just him, so he doesn't have one of those guys, so.
Yeah.
But these bigger firms that we'd be looking at, they have all those people,
Yeah.
But you pay for it, you pay for that service. Whereas Catamount, we get a really good deal and we don't pay much as far as what it costs us to invest the money and, so there's things for you guys to think about on both sides.
Yeah, so part of this whole conversation that we're all gonna suffer through is really, what are we doing?
That's it, yeah.
What do we do? Why do we do it? How should we do it? What's the purpose of it? How do we plan? All of those things are what we're supposed to do. That's our task, right? That's what we're the fiduciary here. So just going through the process, you're gonna learn something, I'm gonna learn something, Matt's gonna learn something, we're all gonna get more educated. And we're gonna hopefully make sure that, again, if what the current practice that we have identifies as the best to us through it, awesome. We're still gonna learn stuff, and that's great, but possibly and more likely than not, there might be a change, right? And because we're gonna see more of the world around these issues, and we're gonna make a better decision possibly for the town. And that's what we're here to do. And so it's potentially kind of a long process. It'll take months.
Yeah.
To do that. So you gotta kind of kick the can and get it started, which is what we're doing, having the conversation, getting it on there, figuring out why we're doing it, why we're not doing it, and then what's the first step, right? First step, sort of like what we dealt with first up this afternoon is you sort of, with the letter, we're inviting her it's the same thing where we would say, Matt, go, get a request for proposal out there and find us 4 or 5 Vermont-based companies that are appropriate, sort of the first cut appropriate for our needs, and then that would be interested. Some of them might not be interested. And then, give us those packets and let's continue the conversation. Part of that whole process really should be, what is working well for us now? What isn't working well for us now? What do we want it to look like? What does the select board want it to look like in the future? And how do we want to organize the town's business for that? Because that's our job. It's not Matt's job and it's not the treasurer's job. It's the select board's job. And so, I think that's what you're looking for, right?
That's
You're
what I'm
looking for us to
Yep.
get off our butts here and make that decision, right? You can go do that.
Right, let us know, yeah, let us know. Just let us know what direction you want to go.
I'm good with it. I've been good with
Yeah.
it.
As long as everybody's.
So I guess 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go more than that. And that means you might look at 20 of them, Matt,
Right.
and you make those cuts.
Yep.
For however you think, talk to David.
I will. David, you have anything you want to chime in here?
Where's David?
No, only to note that our current investment advisor is in the process of merging with a much larger firm that's in Williston, I think. So he's still going to do business as his current name, but he'll be part of a larger firm. Silver Lake Investing, I think is what they're called. So it's possible that our current investment advisor will be equipped with some of the same tools that we may or may not be looking for, but equipped to offer more services, perhaps. Haven't had a talk with him yet about that, but it's an ongoing thing.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
So you guys, do your thing when you're not, the bright light's not on your head.
Yep.
And, talk it through and make, I think VLCT used to offer lists
They offer all, yep.
of those firms. Probably the Vermont State Treasurer's Office, I believe,
Mhm.
might have lists of folks that they recommend through, or the auditor, I can't remember, you'd have to look it up, but you can get.
Yeah.
Get
I
a,
think the LCT would have some too.
I think so, yeah, I think they offer it, so it's on to you and, gotta move on it.
We will,
But-
but we'll have, I don't know if we'll have anything, I'll have something for you at the next meeting. I don't know what.
Even if it's a,
Yeah,
update
just an update.
of where you're
We'll have
at
some- yeah,
and
we'll have something.
what's going on.
So between the next 2 weeks, me and Dave will get something done on it.
Excellent. Thank you for
Thanks, Matt.
putting that back on there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, now we have the Barton River bank erosion near the Webster Road Bridge.
Damn Websters.
So you saw the email, I hope, everybody.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
river engineer for the state of Vermont said we could dump some stone there, which we've done in the past. He does not want us digging any culverts or anything above the property or anything like that. He said that area right there is a floodplain area. It's considered a floodplain and there are different rules.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a floodplain,
Right.
he can't just have towns going in there and digging it up and then diverting water and.
Right.
So for anything more than this right here, there will need to be a scoping study and some smarter people than me looking at it, so. He's gonna come back to you guys with some options. It's gonna be a little while. He's got some other projects that are ahead of this one. But, he just wanted you to,
With the culvert part.
with the culverts, he just wanted you to be thinking about how how big you might want to go here, you know, because his recommendation is probably gonna be to do nothing, which he doesn't care if you say that's, you know, he doesn't care if you disagree with him, he's, you know, he'll, you know, he understands that we've got people here that we've gotta look out for, but,
So it's two issues, really.
it's too.
There's a personal property issue. There's a personal property issue with erosion, bank erosion, right? If I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
It's kind of eating that bank. There's some thoughts from some folks that the cause of that is because the height of the road that has come up over the last 50 years, you know, the town continuing to make the roadbed higher, which could be true, which is causing more flush instead of it going into that,
Where it's supposed to go.
well, where it would have gone if
Right.
nobody ever built a
Right,
road
yeah.
100 years ago, just, you know, just like this, that it shoots it through with more force under the bridge, causing that bank, more bank erosion. And I know they dealt with it, what, 20 years ago, 30 years ago,
Yeah.
with the state, and they blocked it, they did things, but it's still
Happening.
still chewing.
Yeah.
So I've tried to say, you know, get everybody together. It's not really directly a town issue. You've got to partner up with the state, and it's a FEMA site twice now. You know, we haven't built it up in the recent years. We've tarred it, and in hopes that it stays there.
Yeah.
Because the gravel road keeps going down in your field.
Yeah.
So where are we at there? So he's okay with the town building up that bank,
Yes, adding material to that.
and that he's just, it's that loose, we can just go do what we think is right.
Not a lot. He said a couple dump truck loads, not a lot. Yeah,
But we've got that permission.
we've got that permission. In writing. So, I mean, I thought, I mean, I know those people are, they're upset, and you know, I don't want, I'm sure nobody here wants them to be upset, so anything we can do that just shows them that we're.
I don't know if it's gonna be that easy.
I don't
I
either.
pretty much looked at it. You don't just, it's a bad spot.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it, it's bad.
And then there's trees that should stay there,
Oh, yeah.
but it's gonna be hard to get in there with them there.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You don't wanna take the trees out.
No,
Yes,
you
no.
want
Because then they're gonna wash even more.
Take the trees out, yeah.
Maybe Nathan could look at it more and have a better, I mean, he knows what he can do, what he can't do. Would it be him doing it?
Well, I mean, that's your next discussion, right? You're not on the town right away. Again, like what we dealt with before, now we're talking about outside the towns right away. So
Why is that out of the towns right away?
It's private property.
it's private property, it's not on the road. The road width is right away is only what, 25 feet?
So are they giving the landowner permission to put the stones there? Or
No, they gave us permission to put the stones there. I don't know what he's spoken to them many times. I don't know what I don't know.
That's why I wanted everybody at the same table,
I
you
don't
know,
know
to have that conversation.
Yeah, I don't know what those conversations have been like between trying to think of their names.
Are there grants for this type of work?
Porter?
Porter, yeah.
Are there grants?
Not that I'm aware of, but
They wouldn't pay, will they pay for it? Will the state pay for the material and no?
Would the porters pay for the material if we hauled it?
I don't think so. I think,
No.
I think they feel like the towns should be responsible for it.
That's a corker.
Yeah, it's not a, I mean, there's really not an easy answer to this one.
Problem is it's outside our right of way. So you can't really, we don't do that, right? You can't really start.
It's gonna be the same thing as
Right.
44 road.
Kind of.
If you're gonna-
That, you can't mess with rivers. I mean, the state gets mad when you mess
Mhm.
around with rivers.
Basically, whoever does it is just putting stone on the bank so it
Right,
doesn't
yeah.
erode it.
Yeah,
To help hopefully stop it.
hopefully keep it out of there.
If you just knew somebody with an excavator.
There's some more issues down there that
Yeah.
we might be doing.
So, yeah. I'm stumped.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to
stumped.
make a decision tonight.
Yeah.
Just-
Let me talk to them. I'll talk to them
I'm stumped.
and,
Cause we just can't take we can't take the liability, right? So it's
Yeah.
like. What ifs, all the what
I mean,
ifs.
yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things that could go wrong.
And then five, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when a new owner.
yeah,
All of a sudden, there's a bank failure or anything, it's like you're going to find responsibility to that probably somehow.
yeah, let me talk to them. What about, as far as the town buying the stone? Is that's still,
Do the talking.
Yeah.
Go figure everything out the best you can and see where they're at. I mean, I know what they want.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll work, but I know what they want.
yeah,
And that's why I sort of put everybody at the table and, let the professionals say if it's gonna work or not.
So when you come from
just,
like Orleans River Road, when you turn on Webster, it's that one right there on the right.
Yeah.
That first house
Big
right
house.
there.
Yep, nice house.
So if you look right from the bridge, right below the bridge,
Mhm,
on the side of the house, that's the bank.
mhm.
You'll see the.
what's under the bridge?
It's
I've never looked. Does anyone know? Is it blocked?
Concrete,
Yeah.
Okay,
concrete abutments. Yeah,
because
there's a lot of,
before we paved the road, there was a hole in it, big hole.
you mean right where the
Just-
apron is?
Just as you get over the bridge, where the bridge is concrete that you drive over. right?
Yeah,
And then it was right on the left, there was a big hole.
Yeah, that happens checks.
And,
Right?
I just,
The paving one.
Yes.
if it's all blocked underneath there, it shouldn't have been washing out, but there was a big hole there.
Okay.
in the concrete,
Nope, just before the road was paved, it
yeah.
was in the dirt. The
Oh,
spring,
I don't know, I never
Yeah,
saw it.
they went and filled it in with stone. And it never went anywhere.
Yeah, no, I never saw it.
One
Probably
morning
right
I
where
was
the
down
apron-
there and.
Right where the apron starts, I mean, you're always grading that, the guy.
Yeah. This you could stick your whole leg in.
Huh, yeah, I don't know.
I'll talk to him. Yeah, and we'll just go from there.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, gravel pit parcel, Hancock Road.
I've been wondering about that. What's happening?
Yeah, what are you doing
Nothing?
Whole lot of nothing.
that?
Just I mean,
This is not just the gravel pit, this is with the field and everything. It's,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's the, here, I got the
Cornfield.
thing
Yeah.
right here, if you wanna look at it. The one marked in yellow, 38 acres, owned by the town of Coventry.
But somebody planted corn, Nelson or Lawson?
Lawson.
Lawson.
So
planted. I
it was,
thought
it was rented by the Observers to George Lawson,
Mhm.
and that's basically the issue. We
We gotta figure out
I
something
saw-
for next year.
well, you can't have somebody renting town land. That would be like me telling, saying, Dan, give me $1,000, go cut some of Worley's trees down.
I saw Gary and he brought up the issue.
Yeah, Gary Byron.
Yeah.
And he will bring it back up again if he.
So I was at a store and he started in about it and I felt like I just ignored him. And so a couple of days later, I went to his house and talked to him about it. And I've been worrying about Obzerx losing it. I just felt like if it was my grandfather's property and it was the same situation, and now I wouldn't have that feel. You never know what their grandkids are gonna do. So that's what I was worried about. And then also why we're even talking about it. How long have they been renting that field out?
Probably longer than we know.
Yeah, and now there's an issue because someone doesn't like a cornfield.
Right.
What if they put it back to hay? And then Gary gets sick of everything, he just moves away, and somebody else moves in and they don't like a hay field.
I don't want them to lose it, but, they shouldn't be making money off town land.
So the other thing, yeah,
Mhm.
and then maybe as long as they weren't cropping it, someone they lost. They had, whoever did it had to pay the town of Coventry, but then they could potentially crop it if they wanted to.
Right.
Down the
I mean,
road.
according to their deed that they've got, if they want to use that land for their agricultural purposes, they can. Right? I mean,
Whenever. So if it went on 10 years. Yeah.
But it does not say anything about them being able to rent the land to a third party and get that income. That's not in here.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where, if they're just haying that for their beef,
Then fine.
it'd be fine. But if anybody should be getting paid for that land to be done anything to, it should be the town of Coventry, because we own the land.
Mhm.
And you gotta get in a whole.
Another corker.
Yeah, I mean, and you're gonna get in a whole lot of trouble if people know about this.
So, good job, pretty good summary there.
Nice.
I'll add to it. So with that base knowledge, right, let's step back and let's do it again. So the town of Coventry bought the land, right? The select board at the time made a decision that we want another gravel pit. And that was a prime location for gravel. So they made a decision to purchase that piece of property. In those negotiations that I'm sure weren't done on YouTube, there was an agreement that the new deed that the town of Coventry owns, there's a couple of different allowances in there.
Yep.
One of the allowances in the new deed that the town of Coventry owns is that the Osphurics can continue to crop the property for themselves and their heirs and assigns. That's what it says.
Yeah.
Good deal, bad deal, obviously a bad deal for the town of Coventry. Because you could have done that with a lease, right? And not had been tied up in a deed. Can't change that now, can change that, there'd be a fighting process. There's also some other stuffs in there, other things in there that benefits the town. Well, it doesn't benefit the town because the town owns the property, but the town can say, you're not gonna crop this anymore because we're gonna use the soil. We can do that. We can do it tomorrow. We're trying not to, because we're trying to process through the complaints that we're hearing from the neighbors currently you're right, it'll change in the future because of the way the business was transacted, allows for all of this crazy gray area. Crazy, but it's what we got. It's the hand we got dealt. So we have to try to work ourselves through this for the town of Coventry's business. Matt, myself, we've gone up, we've talked to the Ospherics unsuccessfully to say, can you help us navigate through this? And they haven't. For whatever reason. I think I know why. But they're making money on it. So what do you do about it? You own the land, but you've lost control of the land. Essentially. So what good is having it? So, you know, that's sort of where we're at. That's the stumbling point, which is, you know, my hopes many months ago, you and I had talked about it, and I think my hopes and yours were that we could just find a way through it with them that made more sense. Like, and it went back to the best of the worst, which is they would use the land themselves, but that hasn't happened. And so our job, just like I keep preaching, is the town of Coventry. That's our job. So what do? We can put our head in the sand, not worry about it and deal with it and let them make money on town land. Probably not a good idea. Because some select board in the future is gonna have to deal with it. Right now you don't have control of that. And so Matt's doing a pretty good job and telling us that we ought to do ours. And deal with it, so he doesn't have to keep dealing with it. So thank you for doing that, Matt. So in, you know, it's like what do we do? What are you willing to do?
What,
Because we can do stuff. We can go up there and peel all of that topsoil right off of there. We own it. Says it in the deed we can. We can go build a road right through the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's our land. That's not good neighbor, right? We don't want to do that, but
if they gave it up so that whoever cropped it paid the town the rent money, what would we do? What would anybody suggest that? What would be the next step?
you mean, say that again, so
If they said, we don't want to hay it.
Yeah.
We don't want to do anything with it right now.
Yeah.
And whoever, if anyone wants to crop it and rent it, pay the town.
Pay the town, and if they decide they want to use it again, then they have the right. to
Whenever they
use it
wanted to
again.
use it, they had the right to use it. What would we do?
So that's an interesting issue, right? It's sort of like the board of directors on the Newport ambulance. Who do you want to be the boss? So if they don't want to crop it,
Then we could choose to
Then-
crop or not crop.
then you can choose to crop or not crop. That's right. It's your land and you control those decisions on whether you want anybody to crop it, or you want to have a selection process of who you want to have crop it. And then you have the conversation of what type of crop you want, right? What we would control that, not the Ospherics controlling our business on our land for us. Bad scenario. Bad scenario. So the way the deed is now, and there's family and assigns, heirs and assigns,
Yep.
can crop that. That's what it says. They've gone out beyond that.
I know, I just
And
Googled it.
essentially leased your land. So they're outside the scope of that. So the conversation keeps coming back to, what are you gonna do about it? What is the select board going to do about that? Are we gonna do anything about that? Are we gonna push back on them? Are we gonna have our lawyer send them a letter and spend some money on a better legal opinion? Probably that's where we're at. Where, kind of where I keep getting, which is, it's above my pay grade on that one. I know what I want the outcome to be, but how you get to there.
So what do you think in the outcome?
I think the best outcome would be a new deed that had more clarity and it went to a leasing situation.
You'd have to have them agree to it.
Right.
But in the end,
That's the best outcome, I think, because it's a clean deed and you can make an agreement. You can do a 99-year lease. You can do a 50-year lease. You can do anything, and establish the terms in that.
And get rid of the signs.
Yeah,
A Google.
that's right. Absolutely.
get rid of what?
The word assigns, heirs and assigns, the
Right.
people who can be assigned the right or benefit of the
Mhm.
agreement.
Right. So I mean, that's potentially, I believe, the best outcome, the best scenario, because they wouldn't lose the ability to hay it, crop it in the future when they wish. They would just be dealt with, they would have that privilege through a lease. But, you are in control of it all. But they're not at this point.
So they wouldn't lose
Access to it.
access to it. They would they would lease it from the town.
Yeah, they
Give
could
it to
leave-
them for $1 if you
Understand
want.
it.
It's like, but you have the conversation around, the process. How do we do this? Because we just had an experience.
Yeah.
Right? We had an experience because the town did a really, 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 really bad job when they bought land for whatever reasons. And we're saddled with it now. We have just experienced something that was bad. And so we're having to navigate that, and how do we fix it or not fix it? Can we adjust it? Can we amend it? So yeah, we've been unsuccessful neighborly.
Yeah.
And so now the next question is, do you want to take the next step? Try to remedy the situation, which would be what we said, get Brian to have the deed and to hear us about, get up to speed on everything we just talked about, and then offer us a legal opinion on what could or couldn't or should or shouldn't be next steps after that for us to consider, without us taking any action, us to consider. And, I guess that's sort of where I would get at with my mind. And then probably when you're at that spot, if we haven't made good agreements with the Ospherics at that spot, probably a town meeting issue. Because you're talking about
Everybody's
pretty significant situation there, and the town owns that land, so you probably would be asking the town, do you want us to deal with this?
Yeah.
Or do you not? But we're not educated enough about the process, would or could be or should be on how to do that. And so we should get more educated, I think, with Brian, and spend some money on it. And then if it resolves itself through that process, when people sort of say they're not kidding now, because we're not, I'm not. It's not bad. It's not good business for this town what we're doing right now. It's bad business. So we got to clean it up. If we don't have a willing partner, you're gonna have to take some additional steps. But I don't think you want to take all those steps without town support. Or I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want the Ospherics to come and talk to us privately, publicly, however it works, and resolve and work our way through it. And, I would say, I'm not saying we'd be willing to pay expenses, right? I'm sure. there shouldn't be any out of pocket for them. When you're
Oh,
talking
for
about
like a new
deeds
deed,
and,
yeah.
and any other legal exercises and all those things, it shouldn't be borne any expense on that. The town can do that. But the town needs to do a better job in its business for the future. I mean, otherwise, sell it, buy another gravel pit somewhere. That's kind of where I would get to, see where Brian gets to it and, sell it to a builder.
Yeah.
we
We'll go get
think-
another gravel pit.
Do we think they would come to a meeting?
You try.
Have you heard from them recently? So
Not on this, you know, I know some.
reach back out. I mean, everything we just said is right there, so they can listen.
Mhm.
I'd be willing to stop up and talk to
I
them.
was gonna
if
say,
that's-
somebody stop and talk to them again.
Yeah, you can make a tour of the whole town.
Yeah, I'll talk to them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go together. That's what we did.
Yeah.
You guys, why don't you guys just do the same thing we did, Matt, and go up and sit down and see where they're at.
Yep. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other business this evening?
Yes.
What do you got?
They're just full of it tonight.
Well, we gotta clean that up. So Zoom.
The website that we're on right now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
We, the select board, how should we say this, Carrie? We, the select board, would like to share our technology with the Coventry Fire District Prudential Committee.
How's that work?
But
I don't know
there's
if
some
it's-
legalities there.
Yes.
I've been instructed. So what we do?
I put that on our agenda for the CFD to discuss as to whether or not to go ahead and just purchase Zoom. We can actually get Zoom free of charge, but it's only for a 45-minute. Like
Increment.
only period. What you would have to do is, once that 45 minutes comes, it shuts you off. So you would have to start the session all over again if your meeting goes longer than 45 minutes. Or you would have a cost of like $200 a year, which I would propose they should probably just spend the $200, get their own for the year, because then you've got your privacy software issues, just like Microsoft has. This Zoom was purchased for the town of Coventry, and the town of Coventry only, not for another separate municipal entity or any other entity.
Yes, next
What
Monday
do
we
we
talk
got,
about it.
200 a year?
When?
That's what we
Yeah.
got.
Yeah.
When do we meet?
Next Monday.
Next Monday.
It was every Monday this month we have a meeting.
And I just posted it, Reuters.
You were in on the agreement.
I was not.
You were.
Okay, so it's that cheap? That's nothing, right?
That's something.
Well,
You can still make a motion if you want to use this laptop.
Yeah.
To use your little speaker piece, to use these other.
The
components,
equipment.
but The equipment, but the actual software itself. the program
Purchase.
Zoom would be.
Do you understand those?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
and that makes
That's what
sense
you
to
want
you?
to do.
Mhm.
Okay, so do that.
I make a motion to allow the Coventry Fire District to use our equipment with their own Zoom subscription for their meetings.
Second?
Question,
Nope.
Question?
reword it.
Well, the only thing I'm wondering is because Monday, I sort of already told the members it was gonna be Zoom. Can you sort of reword that so that Monday?
So I make a motion,
We use Zoom, but then after that. we'll have to
approve
use
the
Zoom.
Coventry Fire District to use our Zoom for one meeting to get to vote on whether or not the fire district
How you doing, Matt?
Great. Just great.
So
and use the equipment ongoing.
we just wanna bend the rule once.
Once.
So we're just gonna bend the rule once with knowledge we're bending the rule because it's the greater good.
Because we don't have authorization to buy Zoom for,
Dave's got a
good idea.
We're good.
Yeah, you can, like Deb was saying, you can use Zoom for free for 45 minutes. You can hopefully get that particular piece of the fire district business done on the free account and then upgrade that account right on the spot.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I make a motion that the
If you
fire,
have a way to do it, like you'd need some payment method to do it, which you're gonna need anyway with Zoom. You're gonna have to
Do we have that?
somehow pay for it.
Do that?
But
Good
the,
idea.
the key there is that we're not mixing the two in the same Zoom account. You really, really don't want to do that.
No.
Deb, do you understand that?
That's right.
Okay.
okay, I
So
make,
what you guys can do that on Monday's meeting is.
And then your the fire district's use of the town's equipment, we can wrap that into the agreement the fire district already has for use of the town facilities.
so we don't have to make any motion,
Uh,
or yes, make a motion.
No, I would still make a motion for the use of
the equipment, yeah, I mean, just to include it in the agreement that the town already has with the Coventry Fire District, because the town rents the space and it's a modest cost. Provides copies at cost, that kind of thing. But it definitely legally separates the two entities in terms of finances, which is required.
So I make a motion to allow the Coventry Fire District to use the Zoom computer and equipment as part of their agreement to use the facilities. The fire district.
Okay.
Second.
Talk to Deb to.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Very
guys.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
Done.
Okay, you got some minutes there?
They look good to me.
Yep, me too.
I read them.
They're good with Carrie, they're good with me.
You're a homework person.
I have something else for everybody.
What you got?
I could do the things first. I did get the SIG report back, so I will be sending that out to all of you for you to be able to read it. I have not read it as of yet.
The what?
The SIG assessment when we.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you did that. The second thing is I'm collaborating with the school, so we're having a mock election for the students. So grades 6 through 8 are gonna actually vote on our general election ballot, and then they'll go to see who they chose to be the president and whatnot. Grades 3 through 5, we're actually creating a ballot that's gonna be food driven. And what's gonna happen is actually our new cook over at the school, Mr. Fletcher, whatever the kids choose for those food options is what he's actually gonna make. So then they actually get an understanding as far as you're given a ballot, you're given a choice to vote, and whoever comes in first wins. It's gonna be the exact same thing, but except for them, it's gonna be the food. So.
I didn't think schools did winners anymore.
Yeah, school did what?
All right, sounds good.
So they'll be
Nice.
coming over here.
Yeah, I
so
think
I'll
it's
be
great.
setting My Lorena up, I'll be getting some JPs over here to help out with the process.
When are you doing that?
I'm still waiting to hear back from the school, either the third Friday or the last Friday of the month.
That's cool.
Yeah, we're gonna do that, so. Education.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Well, so you're nothing.
I didn't, yeah, I thought it was good.
I'm good.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the select board meeting, Town of Coventry, Monday, September 23rd, 2024, as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the warrants.
Who is?
Heather Boren,
Bowen?
Boren, B-O-R-E-N.
BOURNIV.
So where do they live?
Just before that place, way in the back.
They live above, they live
Oh,
above, up the road.
got it.
Yeah, above that.
Yeah, got it.
With Jeff. I think his last name is.
Boren,
Boren.
Boren.
Gotcha. The old Bob houses.
Yes, in the current house.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a big.
Where's David Barlow? Yeah. Hi, Dave.
Still here?
Didn't know if you went to bed. Good Hue excavation, that you saw that big bill.
Sure did, yeah.
What's the plan on the, how are we paying that?
With money,
Yeah.
not to be flip, but it's it's been in the checking account for a long time, so we can cover it.
Okay, so it's not, it's not a special fund thing, it's a straight out of the checkbook deal.
Yeah, it's coming out of, in NEMRIC, the highway fund. So you'll see it on the next budget report. It's the item that I haven't been able to really put on there because it was a little bit nebulous in terms of how to do it, since it's a grant, it's a FEMA grant as well.
Right.
But I can certainly put it on there at actual expense, so it'll show up.
So
That
it's
way.
good.
Why is Good Hue here too?
Because they sent their first bill in,
Thank you, David.
and I processed that, and we issued a check. And then we ended up receiving a second bill, and when I went to go input that, it converted back as being the same exact invoice number with two different amounts. So I gave it to Matt contacted them. There was a billing error on their end, and the higher one is the one that we need to pay them. So you folks actually need to, I've already voided that check on the big warrant. You folks just need to cross that one out and basically put void. And this one is the replacement of the 400 and something $1,000 one on that big one that you have right there.
So we're avoiding the check that's in here
Yeah.
to Good Hue?
And if that was too complicated, I can do all that for you.
You got it?
Yeah.
So this is the real one.
Yes.
So we just. But all these other ones gonna be,
On the actual warrant next to Good Hue, the one that you have right there, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna wanna mark void.
We're crossing out.
Yeah.
Check's already voided.
okay, so we're just crossing this out.
Yeah. And I would
Good catch,
probably
Dan.
still put void.
So when we, make the motion, do we
You're gonna wanna
Wanna-
put it, yeah.
accept them? Yeah.
Even we really want these things.
That was it.
Boy,
And then
Danny.
you folks
Ooh, he's
have
paying
to-
attention.
I got here on time.
Everything's looking up tonight, huh?
Good Hue and Hutchins. Ugh.
No, it's an expensive one, and that's not my fault.
Match, yeah.
Cause this is one we held back on last time, right? Hutchins?
Oh,
Yep, they're all done and
Yeah.
good.
So that didn't change, they didn't adjust their bill
Nope.
for the extra work. Have you talked to them at all or no?
Nathan is.
Nathan has?
Yep.
So everybody's happy?
All happy.
Actually, I wasn't even thinking about fix the way that they did it. I was thinking that they would put more tire down below, but I like their fix better. You know, the grind,
Yeah.
and then it's not gonna peel up, you know, the
Yeah.
plows and everything, and then when they top coat that over, it'll. So, Carrie, what's out of talk about that, right?
I make a motion to approve the warrants except for the duplicate. Whatever, the Good Hue, one of the Good Hues that we voided.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, somebody adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I